morning. It is Wednesday, June 22nd. I'm Shane Seeley and this is the CBC Morning Report. Some good news for residents of St. John this morning following yesterday's parish-wide water outage. The Barbados Water Authority has resumed pumping at the Bowmanston station, which was affected by low levels in its reservoir. According to reports from the authority last night, as the levels improve, water will begin to flow once again into the distribution system. The Director of Engineering, Charles Leslie, has been overseeing the process. Speaking to CBC, he explained that he's confident BWA crews have identified the source of the problem after some rigorous investigations.
The Barbados Water Authority would like to advise customers in the St. John districts that would have experienced low pressure and outages last night. We have continued with our investigative work into the distribution system, and we would have made some corrective actions today. We would have also done some maintenance at our pump station in St. John, and the combined work that was done in the distribution system and at the pumping station would have resulted in improved service from that facility to the customers. So once again, the Barbados Water Authority would like to apologize for any inconvenience in service that customers would have experienced as a result of the disruptions on June the 20th.
That's the Director of Engineering, Charles Leslie, there for the BWA, explaining the situation. Now, the authority expects some communities will still be affected this morning by some of those outages or low pressure. For a little while longer, the Barbados Water Authority's tanker service will continue to operate in those affected St. John districts. We will keep you updated right here in our morning news and subsequent newscasts. Now, work on the $250 million Scotland District Road Rehabilitation Project is scheduled to begin as early as next week. The Acting Prime Minister and the Minister of Transport and Work, Santia Bradshaw, made the revelation in Parliament yesterday. The Acting Prime Minister says the contract has been awarded to Complant. That's the same contractor working on the Sam Lord's Castle project, which is due to be completed in December. According to the Acting Prime Minister, the Scotland District project is to commence with 2 sample roads in St. Andrew.
Once the consultant for the ministry has reviewed the preliminary designs, the construction drawings are going to be completed. The contracts will be finalized with the contractors, and it is estimated that work on these 2 roads, this is Vaughan's Road number 1 and Shorey Village, will commence on the 27th and the 30th of June of this year.
Acting Prime Minister Bradshaw was speaking as the lower house debated a resolution to borrow more than $256 million from China for road repairs. The minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Ryan Strawn, introduced the motion for the special loan from China's Export-Import Bank, noting that the Scotland District accounts for 1/7 of the country's physical space. He said the project is absolutely critical to ensure no part of Barbados is cut off or left unable to access critical services such as ambulance and fire.
The term of the loan, sir, is 20 years. What I want to impress upon the public, sir, through you, is that there will be a grace period of 60 months, sir, from the effective date of the agreement. 60 months, 5 years, sir. 5 years grace period, which means, sir, we have some time and space, sir, to get the works done before we start to repay the loan under the terms and conditions as agreed.
The signing of the loan agreement has been tentatively set for July 1st, and both Ms. Bradshaw and Mr. Strawn say it's a highly concessional rate of 2% interest annually. The repayment will be done in 31 semi-annual installments, and during the debate, we were also told priority is being given to addressing the road troubles plaguing the people of White Hill in St. Andrew. Currently, 2 designs for the area are being considered.
We have made it abundantly clear that in the first phase of this project must be the work rehabilitation in the White Hill area. We will get to the other roads, but we wanted the design work, the costings, and an understanding of what it would entail to be able to do this for the people of the White Hill District who have suffered so long because nothing has been happening in that area. One of the issues that the compliant team had looked at was whether, I think they were trying to determine whether a bridge would be used to reconstruct the area where the road had collapsed, or whether an alternative road needed to be built. And that really is, I think, at the crux of the matter in terms of the decision making on which design we will go with.
That's the Acting Prime Minister, Santia Bradshaw, speaking about work to be done in the Scotland District area. We'll take a break here. When we come back, we'll look at some COVID-19 updates and we'll give you the latest on the war in Ukraine. There are 145 new COVID-19 cases here in Barbados. The latest dashboard is made up from 733 tests conducted on Monday by the Best of Santos Public Health Laboratory. As far as isolation is concerned, 23 people are at health facilities while 796 people are at home. 153,284 people are fully vaccinated. Let's go further afield now in Belize. Despite a steady increase in COVID-19 infections, citizens have been told by the country's Director of Health and Wellness, Dr. Melissa Diaz, that health officials are not considering reverting to strict measures. More in this report.
With regards to the mask mandate for outdoors, it is best that if you're planning anything, if you're having a function, try to do as many outdoor activities as possible. When you're indoor, we're still recommending, especially at the workplace, especially if you can't social distance effectively, to still utilize your mask. That's very important, especially to help us at this point to break this transmission and to see our numbers going down.
What I'm asking is, should we revert to where we were before April 1st?
At this point, it's not what we're going to recommend. We still really ask for personal responsibility to our community and to each other as well. If you do know that you're sick, you've had fever, a family member is ill, notify your workplace. Ensure that people know what's happening, because you can still transmit if you're mildly symptomatic or asymptomatic. So that's very important for us to remember. Not because you feel well. If you know you were very closely exposed, if you know that you were ill within the last 24 hours, ensure that you inform your HR person at your work, or you keep your distance, you work from home, and you utilize your mask.
St. Lucia's Minister for Youth Development and Sports, Kenson Casimir, has put forward a number of ideas before the Commonwealth Youth Forum. They're aimed at developing the youth given the impact on schooling by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Schools should focus time spent by the nation's youth in the classrooms as time to teach more social skills, etiquette, basic finance management, tolerance of differences, teach focus, teach cross-cultural communications, teach curiosity, problem solving, or conflict resolution. All these skills are highly required in the modern global work environment. In addition to this, Commonwealth nations must work harder to ensure updated skills databases are created to ensure that skills are provided for government. The driving force behind most modern economies come from small businesses and/or the gig economy. Government and the private sector must capture all the skills available to their local economy and ensure that it can be geolocated in the communities and, of course, available to everyone, every employer in the Commonwealth. Having knowledge of all the persons who graduate or return home from school with a particular skill is essential in ensuring a productive society.
Let's focus on the war in Ukraine now. Russia's foreign ministry has demanded the immediate lifting of what it calls Lithuania's open hostile restrictions on the rail transit of EU-sanctioned goods to Moscow's exclave of Kaliningrad. Now, Lithuania says the goods are within the list of sanctioned items in the war on Ukraine.
This is the main port in Kaliningrad. Its facilities are important to the Russian economy, for this is the only all-year-round ice-free port the country has on the Baltic Sea. Many products essential for the local population in the Russian exclave come by sea, but many more come by land and are now being stopped. And if people in the stores are to be believed, EU sanctions are hurting.
I think we should pack up our belongings and leave, because you can't go anywhere. This has never happened. I think not only me, many people are planning it now, or even regretting that they are living in Kaliningrad region.
Those sanctions target specific items that transit EU territory, in this case via rail through Lithuania to and from Russia.
The sanctioned goods, steel and other goods made from iron ore, will no longer be allowed to transit Lithuania. It is done with consultations with the European Commission and under the European Commission guidelines.
In many ways, Kaliningrad is a historical anomaly, once part of what was called East Prussia, but taken by the Soviet Union from Nazi Germany at the end of World War II, and then became part of the wider USSR. But when that country died in the early 1990s, the Russian Federation chose to hold on to Kaliningrad, and so it became an exclave, separated from Russia proper by the newly independent Baltic states. Which helps explain why officials in Moscow are so agitated by the impact of sanctions, and have warned the people of Lithuania to expect retaliation for their government's actions.
This example shows that you cannot trust either verbal statements by the West or written ones. Russia will certainly respond to such hostile actions. Appropriate measures are being worked out between departments and will be taken in the near future. Their consequences will have a serious negative impact on the population of Lithuania.
It's a threat some Lithuanians have long anticipated.
Baltic countries, differently from many other countries of European Union, didn't have any illusions about the true attempts and ideas of Russia.
A threat to one or all of the Baltic states would constitute a threat to NATO. Many in the Atlantic Alliance maintain an armed presence there. This was the German Chancellor visiting his country's soldiers in Lithuania just 2 weeks ago. Like many other European leaders, Olaf Scholz says his country will defend every centimetre of NATO territory.
Our time is 6:15 on this Wednesday morning. Let's hear from Pearson now what he has planned for you in a few minutes' time on today's edition of Mornin Barbados. Pearson, it's over to you.
Thank you, Shane. In that few minutes' time, coming up at 6:30, we'll share with you a little bit more about the campaign. Are you drinking yourself sick? The call to action is still very relevant today. We encourage all of you to pay very close attention as we get an update Also today we'll be taking a look at employee engagement and psychological safety. What is that? And how can HR professionals, how can the work environment become such a place where we see full employee engagement? We'll do that when we talk HR with Hermab a little later on. Plus, we'll meet the author of the book, A Pleasant View, a book that looks at the dark side of the Caribbean dream. Those are just a few of what you can engage with when you join me here for Morning Barbados at 6:30. Back to you, Shane.
Thank you, Pearson. The IMF gives Barbados a passing grade. You'll get the details coming up in a report just after this break here on the Morning Report. The International Monetary Fund has issued a positive outlook for Barbados' economy. Lisa Broom reports.
Officials from the International Monetary Fund have just wrapped up an historic visit to the island. The team, led by Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva, who was on her first visit to the island, submitted its staff report coming out of the 7th review under the Extended Fund Facility Arrangement. In it, the fund is predicting gradual economic recovery over the medium term. In fact, it says that recovery could come in the form of 11% economic growth this year, supported by tourism. The IMF says visitor arrivals are expected to recover to about 60% of pre-pandemic levels in 2022 and return to pre-pandemic levels in 2024. Additionally, it says structural reforms and strategic public investment are expected to return growth to its medium-term average of about 2%. The IMF has warned, however, risks to the outlook remain high, with a further lengthening of the pandemic being the key risk. The fund further noted an intensification of the war in Ukraine could further increase global commodity prices and add to inflationary pressures. The document went on to note further appreciation of the U.S. dollar, to which the local dollar is pegged, could dent Barbados' tourism competitiveness. Additionally, it said repeated natural disasters aggravated by climate change could also have a dampening impact on economic activity. Lisa Broom, CBC News.
As Barbados moves ahead with the introduction of the new Barbados Digital ID card, the Ministry of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology is hoping to get it approved as a travel document. Crystal Hoyt has that story.
When the new Barbados identification card, the Trident ID, is issued, it may be used as a travel document in the not-too-distant future. That's according to Minister of Industry, Innovation, Science and Technology, Davison Ishmael, who says the development is in its early stages.
That is the proposal. We have ensured that even as we sought to introduce this new ID, that we expanded its usability. It's not just really about authenticating who you are anymore. It's about being able to use that card in many different spheres. And one of those spheres that people like to use their various documents is for travel. If we're going to be doing all of this to upgrade ID cards, we should try to ensure that we comply with as many international travel regulations and standards as possible so that the card can eventually be used as a travel document. Now, for it to be used as a travel document, it has to check many boxes.
The new ID card now complies with the International Civil Aviation Organization standards, but there is still work to be done before it can be used for travel.
Now, the long-term plan is that we will engage not only our CARICOM community, but also the international community, our source partners, the USA, UK, Canada, etc., wherever Bajans will go in the world. We now have to have those conversations with them so that they accept the card as a travel document. So we've done our part in terms of ensuring that it complies with international civil aviation standards and that it can be used as a travel document, but it's now really for those other conversations to take place.
Minister Ishmael revealed that there has already been good progress with CARICOM member states, which are excited about the card. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
Tens of thousands of the UK's railway workers began the network's biggest strike action in more than 30 years, leaving commuters facing chaos. About 40,000 cleaners, signallers, maintenance workers and station staff were holding a 24-hour strike yesterday, with 2 more planned for Thursday and Saturday.
London's Waterloo station is one of Britain's biggest and busiest, but not today. Not this week. 3 alternate strike days on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, interspersed with 3 days of minimal service, mean travel misery for millions.
This kind of disruption is just ridiculous. Everyone knows they're well paid.
How was the journey?
Horrible. I'm coming from Harlesden. Over there, I was supposed to take a train to Stratford. It has been cancelled 4 times.
From Wimbledon it was fine, but now going to Seven Sisters is going to take me very, very long. So the journey will be 1.5 hours, which is too much. And everybody's like messaged on the work group, that there's heavy traffic on the roads as well. So let's see, yeah.
Only around 20% of the normal service is running, and only on half of the network, mainly the lines running into big cities. In many rural and regional areas, there is no train service at all. The dispute between the RMT Rail Union and the employers Network Rail and the train operating companies is largely over pay and the impact of inflation on workers' wages. But the government, which directly finances Network Rail, has also ordered it to find $2.5 billion of savings. Network Rail says that's possible if staff accept new working practices. But the union says that will mean 3,000 job losses and jeopardise safety.
They want to rip up our terms and conditions that we've negotiated with the companies. They're even threatening to lower pay and extend working hours in the train operating companies. And the majority of our members have not had a pay increase for 2 to 3 years, so we've got a lot of problems.
We will continue to do all we can to find that sweet spot of compromise that is affordable for the employers, affordable for the taxpayer, affordable for the fare payer, and the RMT and our employers can live with.
At his regular meeting of Cabinet, Prime Minister Boris Johnson branded the strikes as unnecessary and wrong. He called on the British public to stay the course during what's expected to be a lengthy disruption. The UK economy is experiencing the combined effect of Brexit, the war in Ukraine and its effect on energy costs, as well as the inflationary pressure of the post-pandemic recovery. And rail workers are not the only ones complaining. The RMT is one of Britain's strongest unions, some might say most militant of unions, with their ability to paralyse the rail network during an industrial dispute. But the concerns that the RMT have raised about the difference between people's pay packets and the cost of living at the moment, the rate of inflation, are shared across many different industries and other professions. Teachers, doctors, nurses, local government workers all have pay deals in the pipeline with the government, and they're likely to be offered less than the rate of inflation. And that means a summer of discontent is looming.
Now in sports, Team Barbados is in the final preparations ahead of next week's inaugural Caribbean Games in Guadeloupe. Our Anne-Marie Burke previews some of the under-23 age group athletes who will compete for Barbados across 4 disciplines.
Who is representing Barbados at the upcoming Caribbean Games in Guadeloupe? Barbados has a 23-member team. Let's meet the athletes. And it's time to meet the 7-member track and field contingent. Julian Ford, Jamil Walks-Miller, Nathan Crawford Wallace, Jamiel Miller, Kyle Gale, Miguel Nicholas, and Hannah Connell. Right into the fast lane as Julian Ford and Jamil Walks-Miller will line up in the 100 meters. No stranger to track and field's marquee event, Ford is the 2019 BSAC Sprint Double Champion, and for 2022, competing for his New Orleans University, he has been on fire with the fastest time this year of 10.25 seconds. Coming into the Caribbean Games, he's ready to get on the podium and has been putting in the work.
I just had 2 weeks to prepare because it's coming off a 2-week break after the Canadian circuit. But preparation has been going well so far. This is the first Caribbean Games. I would like to win, but I'm just going there to be faster than I've ever been. So I guess the goal is to run fast and hopefully run a personal best.
As mentioned, Jamil Walks-Miller will also be on the line in the 100 meters. The Lindenwood University student has the best clocking of 10.43 seconds, and like Ford, training has been amped up ahead of the games.
So far, preparation has been going pretty well. This last week and the previous week before, we just been working on my technical aspects of my race, and so far everything has been going pretty well. My main expectation is to medal or just have pretty clean races. That's what mostly I'm looking forward to.
Lining up in the 400 meters will be Kyle Gale, the former St. Michael School student who is now based at the Kansas State University. Goes into the games running the best time this year of 45.40 seconds. With him will be Miguel Nicholas, the former Ellerslie School student who's at Western Texas College and has for 2022 clocked a 46.99 seconds. In the field, the triple jump to be exact, will be Nathan Crawford Wallace and Jamil Miller. Both have been having a great 2022 season. Crawford Wallace has been tops for the Prairie View A&M University in Texas and comes into the games with a best lead this year of 15.38 meters.
Training been going pretty smooth. We've been working on a lot of speed work, a lot of maintaining speed, going through my approach, because that's one issue that I'm really struggling with. We're just working on that. Hopefully everything comes together for Guadeloupe. The goal is, just to maintain my performances, keep healthy, stay healthy, eat right, just go there, have fun and do what I got to do to bring home the goal, or hopefully, a great praise for my country.
As mentioned, Jamil Miller will be joining Crawford Wallace in the triple jump. The University of Texas at San Antonio athlete goes into the games with a personal best of 15.59 meters. And the lone female will be Hannah Connell. She will feature in the 100 and 100 meter hurdles. Hannah is now at the University of South Florida and is looking to get on the podium for Barbados. The track and field athletes will be coached by Wendy Barrow-Smith and Jamal Grosvenor, and their program is set to get going on July the 1st. You just met some of the athletes ready to represent Barbados at the upcoming Caribbean Games.
Anne-Marie Burke with that analysis there. Just this breaking story out of Afghanistan for you, just coming into us. More than 900 people were killed and hundreds more wounded after a magnitude 5.9 quake hit the eastern part of the country on Wednesday. Of course, that's today, according to an official from the country's Disaster Management Authority. It is the deadliest quake to hit the Asian nation in decades. The earthquake hit at 1:24 in the morning there, Afghanistan time, about 46 kilometers southwest of Khost, which lies close to the border with Pakistan. This is according to the United States Geological Survey. We'll have more details for you as they become available. It's time now to look at the weather. The temperature right now is 27.6 degrees Celsius on the outside. It is looking cloudy and slightly hazy. The relative humidity is 79%. The barometric pressure 13.5 millibars, and the winds coming out of the east-southeast at about 35 kilometers per hour. We'll see a high tide this morning at 3 minutes to 11. There will be a low tide at 4 minutes to 5 in the afternoon. Those seas are moderate in open water. The swells are between 1 and 1.5 meters and holding steady. Today in Barbados, we'll have a mix of sunshine and clouds with a few brief scattered light showers. And tonight it will be partly cloudy with a few brief isolated light showers. And here's a look at the international weather forecast. And that's it for the Wednesday edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. I'll see you at 7 with headline news. Up next, is Pearson Bowen with Mornin Barbados.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Good morning, everyone, on this wonderful Wednesday, the 22nd of June, 2022. I'm Pearson Bowen, welcoming you here in Barbados and to those of you watching us from across the globe. Grateful for your company. Thank you for joining our YouTube and Facebook streams. As always, I encourage you to like our page on Facebook. It's Mornin Barbados. Now, this morning, we'll be sharing with you more about the NCF's Writers Clinic. You'd want to hear more, particularly since more people are writing and doing a lot more documenting, then you want to hear how you can engage with that through the NCF. Also, our urologist will join us this morning as he continues to urge men, you need to pay very close attention, check your numbers, have your PSA screening done. Why? Our urologist will tell us the dangers and also the benefits of getting to know the numbers. Also, the BTMI is starting a campaign, a roadmap to net zero, looking at climate action. What is that roadmap? How can we be a part of it? And why are we doing this in the first place? We'll share that with you too. It's Heritage Month, and we'll continue our conversation about that and share with you how youth can become involved in it. We'd also be today, of course, turning the pages of A Pleasant View, that Caribbean book that looks at the dark side of the Caribbean dream. The author will join us in just a little while as well. And again, we'll be looking at psychological engagement as it relates to employee engagement. Well, let's get started by talking a little bit more about the campaign that seeks to help us to reduce our sugar intake. It's are you doing enough to drink? Are you drinking yourself sick? That campaign continues. Joining us from the Heart and Stroke Foundation is a consultant pediatrician, lead policy champion with the Barbados Childhood Obesity Prevention Campaign, Professor Anne St. John. Professor St. John, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson. It is indeed a pleasure to be here again to share the messages from the Heart and Stroke Foundation.
Pleasure to have you indeed. The campaign continues. We know we've had the introduction now of the sweet drink tax. Are we seeing the change that we're looking for?
Yes and no. There has been much debate in the public forum about the implementation of a sweet drink tax. And sugar-sweetened beverages policies have been very successfully implemented in more than 50 countries globally to date. Specifically Mexico, USA, and particular states being California, Philadelphia, and Mauritius. And the WHO recommends excise taxes and they help to incentivize behavior change. That's what you're trying to do. Long-term evaluations are ongoing, but in the short term, reductions in sales and consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages have been shown in international studies. Here in Barbados, where we saw a small reduction in the SSB sales after a 10% tax was implemented in 2017. So recently, we've had an additional tax, bringing it up to 20%, and we don't expect huge reductions, but anywhere around 10% consumption would be expected to make a difference as it relates to SSBs. So that's why I said yes and no, but we have seen improvements.
And we've seen improvements too from the manufacturer, and more the labeling is saying, either low or no sugar, which is quite good. But at the same time, a lot of times people just consume not knowing the dangers of consumption of these heavily sugared products. So let's share with them some of the non-communicable diseases that could result from overconsumption of sugar.
In Barbados specifically, 1 in 3 children is overweight or obese, and 1 in 5 Barbadians has diabetes. 2/3 of adults are overweight and 1/3 are obese. And the prevalence of obesity is almost twice as high in women, 43%, as in men, interestingly enough. Sugary drinks have no nutritional value, and they are particularly harmful to the body in the liquid form. The liquid sugars, people say, well, I'm going to use artificial sweetener. Using liquid sugars to sweeten the beverages, they're absorbed more quickly by the liver, processed in a way that it increases the fat and the glycogen complex and leads to fatty liver. In fact, sugar sweetened and consumption of increased sugar is responsible now more for liver transplant and liver failure than alcoholic disease in children. Because children don't drink alcohol, but we know about the fatty livers, and increased risk for diabetes and other non-communicable diseases. So this is where our budget is just consuming more and more dollars of the tax earnings by government in serving these people with NCDs.
It's a scary picture, and I'm sure a parent is thinking, oh my goodness, is that what I'm doing to my child? And if it is, the answer to yourself is yes, then what can we do? How can we now prevent it or slow it down? What can we do as a society?
Our campaign, and those in the public forum may have noted that every 6 months about the Heart and Stroke Foundation has a new slogan. Our present campaign is, Are We Drinking Ourselves Sick? And looking into it, is currently aimed at informing Barbadians about the health harms of consuming excessive sugar, particularly in sugary drinks. And I hear it often in programs on radio. People are against people drinking sweet drinks. It's not only sweet drinks. When Barbadians say sweet drinks, they're thinking of sodas. It's looking at carbonated and non-carbonated fruit drinks, energy drinks, and sports drinks. And this idea parents have, the child needs some more energy. Children have a lot of energy. Even when they're sleeping at night, they're rolling around and moving in the bed. So they don't need extra energy. The sugar affects their performance at school, affects their interrelationships with the family, the social life, because the sugar also makes them hyper. Many of them more overactive as well. And our campaign firmly supports government's move in increasing the excise tax on the sugar-sweetened beverages from 10% to a higher percent. We're not trying to support punishing anyone. Certainly reducing the type 2 diabetes, which is resulting in many of the families and children. And we have a video which runs quite frequently on the news. It is showing a lady who, it says, do you know how much sugar you're having? Sometimes people consume about 50 teaspoons of sugar in a day without realizing what they are doing. So we are trying to sensitize the public about this. And we are trying to help our children grow healthy. Especially now, we support the policy to reduce sugary drinks consumption for a healthy Barbados.
It's always the next question, what are the alternatives? You know, we get our boost from the extra sugar, but what are the alternatives? And that's the educational part that I think also needs to go hand in hand with asking us to reduce or not use. So what are some of the suggestions that you'd like to proffer?
Well, we have quite a lot of available information online. First of all, we are a very technological, motivated society. Log in to healthykidsbarbados.org, and it advises, it shows some menus. We have a nutrition center, but most of all, we're pushing for the government, anxiously awaiting some action to legislate a school's nutrition policy. Because a lot of the nutrition is at the nursery, at the school meals level, and in secondary school. Therefore, we need to have canteens, and we're educating the vendors. In fact, very shortly, we're having another forum for vendors to educate them. We're not saying do not have, we're saying reduce the consumption to the point where you're almost not having. Water. Water is very good. Barbados has one of the finest waters reputedly across the world. So drink water. You can have some of the flavored waters are very, very low in sugar. The general recommendation, only 1 teaspoon of sugar per glass of whatever you're drinking, if you have to. And the palate is very sweet. I often advise parents, do not taste the child's food, do not add sugar, do not add salt to suit their palate. Let the child come up just taking the food with its natural sodium, sugar, and its natural salt. So we're trying to raise awareness and support. We would like support from the general public through social media posts, like sharing, using the hashtags, which is drinking ourselves sick, we deserve better, protect our children. There are a lot of hashtags which we have. A very technological, active organization, the Heart and Stroke Foundation is.
Indeed. So there are many ways in which we can continue to engage with the campaign, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a conversation that has to continue. And of course, you know, we always welcome your intervention from the Heart and Stroke Foundation, the Childhood Obesity Program, so that we constantly remind people of what it is and then what one can do and how one can join the fight on this particular effort as well. So folks, just go on to the campaign's page. We'll post it here on our social media platform as well, as we lend support to the great work of the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Barbados. Professor Anne St. John, we have to leave it there, but thank you so much. And as always, excellent work, but good luck with the campaign going forward.
Thank you, Pearson.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados takes a break right here. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. You.
17 to 7, one person says that Pleasant View is a landmark work from an important new voice on the international literary fiction. And that voice is the voice of Celeste Mohammed. She's the author of the book Pleasant View that shows the dark side of Caribbean culture. Good morning to you, Celeste.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're very welcome indeed. An author, an attorney at law turned author. I don't know how you marry the two. What was it that inspired you to write the book Pleasant View?
Yes, well, I took a break from law in 2011 and I enrolled myself in a Masters of Fine Arts program in Boston studying creative writing. And so the book was born during my time at Lesley University in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It was actually my thesis. So I was kind of forced to write something.
and that thing you wrote is now the book Pleasant View. But oddly enough, Pleasant View shares the dark side of the Caribbean dream. For some, it might seem a contradiction. So explain to us why Pleasant View sharing the dark side of the Caribbean dream.
Well, honestly, it was meant to be a bit ironic, the name and as well the cover of the book. Because, you know, people tend to have a very pleasant and very flat one-dimensional view of the Caribbean, you know, sun, sea, sand, have a good time, enjoy yourself. And I don't think that it's fully appreciated that Caribbean life is a bit more more complicated and nuanced than portrayed typically. We have problems, we have issues, and they deserve to be taken seriously.
Indeed.
So, yes.
You've written this book in the Trinidad context. You're based on a space in Trinidad, but we can see the Caribbean person in every word that you've written in Standard English and in the Trinidad Creole. So let's talk a little bit about the plot in Pleasant View.
Yes.
When we turn the pages, what do we get from those pages?
Well, I tried to give you double for your money, let's say, because there are nine discrete short stories. 6 of the 9 have been previously published in literary magazines abroad. However, if you read the book in the order in which I've presented the stories, you will have a totally different experience. You'll feel like you're reading a novel. So it's like you can pick it up and you can read one story, or you can read it all in one go and have the feel of a novel. But it's about a political shooting that happens in this town of Pleasant View. And around that shooting, the circumstances precipitating and resulting from that shooting is what plays out in the book.
Right. While it's a horrible action, shooting, at the same time, politics is at the center of our lives, relationships is at the center of our lives, of human existence. And so we'll see all of those interplays, the different characters, how they all come together in this one locale called Pleasant View, and be able to navigate all of those things about life in that one space. So where's the book available, and how can people really begin to have access? They want to read this book called Pleasant View.
Well, I'm not sure in Barbados where it is available. I have no idea, but of course it's available at all the online normal places you would buy book, Amazon, and that sort of thing. But I always encourage people, if you don't see it in your neighborhood bookstore, the bookstore that you frequent, be sure to ask for it, because as a Caribbean writer sitting here publishing a book from here, it is sometimes difficult to get our work into stores. So please support Caribbean, read Caribbean, and write me and tell me where you find Pleasant View.
I couldn't say it better. Now, here it is. You said to me this Pleasant View, the production thereof, was a thesis that you decided, let me just write a book. And out of that, now the bug has been biting at you to continue authoring. Is there another book in the offing very soon?
There is most definitely another book. So I happen to have a daughter who is 7 years old. And so I was inspired to write 2 children's books set in Trinidad, in the Caribbean. So those should be coming out. The first of those should be coming out next year, I'm told. And I'm also working on a second adult book. So hopefully that will be done this year as well.
So we have to learn the name, note the name Celeste Mohammed, author. That's the name. You went recently on a book tour of the US. So talk to me a little bit about that experience and how did people respond?
Well, it was actually just confined, I would say, to Brooklyn, New York, and Washington, D.C. Phenomenal response in D.C. I don't know if it's because they don't get many Caribbean writers coming their way compared to New York. But people were so warm, it was really very heartening because the book came out. It was published during the pandemic.
Yes.
So it was my first opportunity to interact in person with my readers and with the bookstagrammers. I don't know if you've heard about bookstagram.
Yes.
But yeah.
So this is great.
I should mention though.
Go ahead.
I should mention that Barbados is also mentioned in this book because I spent some time there.
Thank you very much for calling your name, Barbados, in the book. Now, on your website, talk to me about, because there's some who would want to know, where can we find you? Yes, you have a website. Talk to us about the website, and there's some trailers, I'm told, on the website about the book. Tell me about that.
So I have my website, CelesteMohammedWriter.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook, my name, Celeste Mohammed. And I'm also on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel with recordings of many of my appearances. And if you scroll down all the way, there are 3 book trailers available. And you can just click, and I think they're about 2 minutes long, each of them. You can click and you can see some video book trailers, kind of giving you a taste of what is in the book.
And that we shall do indeed. There it is.
There you go.
There you go. So we see the book come to life in our video trailers indeed. And when you go to the website, CelesteMohammedWrites.com, is it?
Writer, Celeste Mohammed.
Writer.com. And you scroll right down to the bottom, you see the trailers and you see the book come alive. And then you have that physical copy, or you can have the e-copy as well and read the pages of Pleasant View. Pleasant View is what it's called by this lovely lady, Celeste Mohammed. She's the writer, and we want to encourage more and more Caribbean people to read more and more Caribbean works. And we encourage you today to get a copy of the book Pleasant View. Celeste Mohammed, thank you so much for joining us. Great work, congratulations on it, and we look forward to the next set of work coming, not just from your daughter, the children's books, but also your next, and hopefully it'll be a trilogy. I'm not sure. Somebody tells me there's going to be a trilogy in the work, but all the best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome indeed. CelesteMohammedWriter.com is where you go to find it. We'll take a break right here. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Well, the great work of the Barbados Division of Culture and the Barbados World Heritage Committee continues in this Heritage Month under the theme Heritage, the next 50 years. Joining us as we continue to focus on it is Markeisha Carter, a student at the UWI Cayfield campus, and also Dr. Sharon Johnson, who's Senior Cultural Policy and Research Officer and focal point for the Bridgetown, historic Bridgetown and its garrison. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning. Good morning, Kirsten.
Good to see you indeed. Dr. Johnson, update me. I heard the Antiques Fair was a bomb.
It was. It was tremendous, Pearson. You missed out on some fantastic bargains.
Wow.
It really was. It was inspirational to see Barbadians come out to support the effort. Really went well.
Really great work indeed. And so you had the films that you showed. There's so much going on. So much going on. Even today, I know time is really short with us, but even today, today Wednesday, there are a number of things happening. What's happening today? And then lead me into the rest of the day.
Today we continue the lecture by the Barbados Museum and Historical Society in association with the Embassy of Argentina. And the topic is Friends of All and Satellites of None and the Latin American Diplomacy. That will be at 3 p.m. live on the museum's site. And you could also check to see our Facebook page as well.
Right. That's today.
So that's one of the big things happening, today.
And then tomorrow, there's a youth webinar, Heritage and Sustainable Development. Now listen, is this where Markeisha comes in?
Exactly.
Markeisha, as a student volunteer, let's talk a little bit about this and interacting with your heritage. How has it been for you?
Good morning. Yes, it has been absolutely amazing. I have a great appreciation for our Barbadian heritage. Through this, I've always had a love and appreciation for our country and our culture. But I think through the division of culture, being a volunteer, through the Give Back program, it has allowed me to enhance on the knowledge that I would have already known about Barbados. But it's been amazing, I have to say.
Because it's been amazing, I want you to talk to the young people watching today to encourage them to also be a part of Thursday's activity and the rest of the activities for the month. What do you say?
Yes, so I have to say, in regards to our youth webinar, which is going to be tomorrow, it's going to be live on Facebook at CBC Barbados and on your YouTube channel as well at 6 p.m. And this will be moderated by Senator King. This is supposed to essentially give Barbadians and young people as well an understanding of our country, where we're expected to be going. We often hear that young people are the future of this country. In my opinion, they're the key to the sustainability of our heritage sector, and we cannot have a continuation of heritage without young people. Therefore, we must include them, and we must stress the importance of heritage to them as a growing set of people who are coming up in this community as well. So we also have the Heritage Month exhibition in the Division of Cultures foyer, and this is where they can come and see all things Barbadian. From there is an old telephone for those who don't know how to use an old dial telephone. There is one there, come out and learn how to use it. There's a fishing net. There is also, if they had a quest or were wondering how were we able to bake back in the day?
Yes.
There is actually a coal oven on top of a kerosene stove, showing you how we used to bake back in the day.
We didn't have,
just come out.
Even back in my day, we didn't have microwaves. So we showed you how we used to warm things, how we kept things fresh when there was no refrigerator. All these things you say are part of the exhibition. So Dr. Sharon, you know, here it is. You're seeing the excitement from our young people about our past or history so that they can engage with our future. And that's really what you're trying to encompass right through the whole month.
Exactly. Once they're exposed to it, there's no turning back. What Markeisha did not say, she's a law student.
Oh.
But she has become an excellent researcher, and Markeisha is the driving force behind the webinar Youth Have Their Say. So she coordinated that. I just took a hands-off approach, and the young people went forward, found the topic that they wanted to do, and that is what we want them to do. Take charge. As I said, I'm getting old and I need to see younger faces in this mix.
You're making me tingle with excitement for the future here in the next 50 years, indeed, as that's the theme of Heritage Month. So there are a ream of activities that are happening still. So today, Wednesday, there's a heritage video presentation at St. James Parish Church. Of course, that's one of the oldest churches on the island. There's also today the big lecture panel discussion, Friends of All, Satellites of None, that is encouraged by the Barbados Museum and Historical Society. Tomorrow, the young people get a chance in the youth webinar, Heritage and Sustainable Development. That's at 6 o'clock. It's live on the Facebook page of CBC Barbados and our YouTube channel. Then Dr. Sharon, talk to us about Friday and the weekend, because you know people come out in numbers on the weekend.
Oh yeah, and this is a chance to visit some places that you never would have visited or forgot about. Terracotta, we pass Terracotta every day. Terracotta has undergone some development, and Terracotta, the National Trust, they have graciously opened that to the public free. That is on Saturday, 9:30 to 4. You can visit Terracotta, the home of Sir Grantley Adams, the first Premier of Barbados, a national hero. And then on Saturday, the museum, they are hosting their ancestral bus tour. You can call the museum to get details on that. There is a cost as well, but that is going to be phenomenal. Sunday, what we are having, oh my goodness, the church service. Church service, St. Mary's Church. Once again, they will have a church service. I spoke about this last week, and Margaret Almond Goddard, who's the coordinator for that activity, has promised me a more lavish exhibition.
Wow.
So I would encourage people to come to that. That is going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning. There's also on Sunday the National Trust Welshman Hall Gully open day as well. So you can go there from 9 to 4 and it is absolutely free.
There you go. Words we love to hear. A lot happening. So quickly, Marquisha, do you now know how to use the rotary phone?
Yes. Yes.
Listen, you can imagine at night trying to sneak a phone call and you have to dial out a number from 0 all the way around. That was what we went through, girl.
But
Now
Pearson,
you know.
one of the students asked me, so what happens if you make a mistake?
I love it. Questions and answers, but interact indeed with our heritage. That's what it's about. Get to know life then, life now, life to be the next 50 years. Thank you so very much for joining us this morning, Marquisha Carter and Dr. Sharon Johnson. Again, we want to encourage everyone to engage with all of the activities this Heritage Month. Thank you.
Thank you so much to CBC.
You're very welcome indeed. Morning Barbados takes a break. When we come back, we'll update you on the news.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, I'm Shane Seeley with your headline news for this Wednesday, June 22nd. Good news this morning for those residents of St. John affected by yesterday's parish-wide water outage. The Barbados Water Authority has resumed the pumping at the Bowmanston station, which was affected by low levels in its reservoir. According to reports from the authority up to late last night, the levels have been improving and water will begin to flow once again in the distribution network. The Director of Engineering, Charles Leslie, has been overseeing the process. He's confident BWA crews have identified the source of the problem after some rigorous investigations.
The Barbados Water Authority would like to advise customers in the St. John districts that would have experienced low pressure and outages last night. We have continue with our investigative work into the distribution system, and we would have made some corrective actions today. We would have also done some maintenance at our pump station in St. John, and the combined work that was done in the distribution system and at the pumping station would have resulted in improved service from that facility to the customers. So once again, the Barbados Water Authority would like to apologize for any inconvenience in service that customers would have experienced as a result of the disruptions on June the 20th.
The BWA does expect that some communities will still be feeling the effects of the outages or low pressure for a little while longer. The tanker service will continue to operate in affected St. John districts. Now, by next week, work is expected to commence on the $250 million Scotland District Road Rehabilitation Project. The Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Transport and Works, Santia Bradshaw, made the revelation in Parliament yesterday. Ms. Bradshaw says the contract has been awarded to Complant. That's the same contractor working on the Sam Lord's Castle project, which is due to be completed in December. According to the Acting Prime Minister, the Scotland District project is to commence with 2 sample roads in St Andrew.
Once the consultant for the ministry has reviewed the preliminary designs, the construction drawings are going to be completed. The contracts will be finalized with the contractors, and it is estimated that work on these 2 roads, this is Vaughan's Road number 1 and Shorey Village, will commence on the 27th and the 30th of June of this year.
Minister Bradshaw there speaking in Parliament as the lower house debated a resolution to borrow more than $256 million from China for the road repairs. The Minister in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Affairs, Ryan Strawn, introduced a motion for the special loan from China's Export-Import Bank. The signing of the loan agreement has been tentatively set for July 1st, and both Ms. Bradshaw and Mr. Strawn say it's a highly concessional rate of 2% interest annually. The repayment will be done in 31 semi-annual installments. During the debate, we are also being told that priority is being given to addressing the road troubles plaguing the people of Whitehill St. Andrew. Currently, 2 designs for the area are being considered.
We have made it abundantly clear that in the first phase of this project must be the work rehabilitation in the Whitehill area. We will get to the other roads, but we wanted the design work, the costings, and an understanding of what it would entail to be able to do this for the people of the Whitehill district who have suffered so long because nothing has been happening in that area. One of the issues that the Complant team had looked at was whether, I think they were trying to determine whether a bridge would be used to reconstruct the area where the road had collapsed, or whether an alternative road needed to be built. And that really is, I think, at the crux of the matter in terms of the decision making on which design we will go with.
The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, has issued a positive outlook for the Barbados economy. More from Lisa Broom.
Officials from the International Monetary Fund have just wrapped up an historic visit to the island. The team, led by Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva, who was on her first visit to the island, submitted its staff report coming out of the 7th review under the Extended Fund Facility Arrangement. In it, the fund is predicting gradual economic recovery over the medium term. In fact, it says that recovery could come in the form of 11% economic growth this year, supported by tourism. The IMF says visitor arrivals are expected to recover to about 60% of pre-pandemic levels in 2022 and return to pre-pandemic levels in 2024. Additionally, it says structural reforms and strategic public investment are expected to return growth to its medium-term average of about 2%. The IMF has warned, however, risks to the outlook remain high, with a further lengthening of the pandemic being the key risk. The fund further noted an intensification of the war in Ukraine could further increase global commodity prices and add to inflationary pressures. The document went on to note further appreciation of the US dollar, to which the local dollar is pegged, could dent Barbados's tourism competitiveness. Additionally, it said repeated natural disasters aggravated by climate change could also have a dampening impact on economic activity. Lisa Broom, CBC News.
And finally, let's look at the COVID-19 numbers here in Barbados. There are 145 new COVID-19 cases here on the island. The latest dashboard is made up from 733 tests conducted on Monday, June the 20th by the Best dos Santos Public Health Lab. As far as isolation numbers go, there are 23 people at healthcare facilities, while 796 people are in home isolation. 153,284 people are fully vaccinated here on the island. And that's it for your headline news. I'm Shane Seeley. It's back over to you, Pearson.
Shane, thank you. We're 9 minutes after 7 o'clock now. We'll take a break right here very quickly. When we come back, you get a chance to unscramble on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Okay, so as I would say, let we go. 228-5562 or 228-5563. Some letters there that will be just thrown into the air and just scramble down, and you get a chance to unscramble them and tell me the word you've discovered when you've unscrambled our letters. So take a look at this. What word is this? Nepsaro. Haha, that's how I call it. Nepsaro. 228-5562 or 228-5563. What word was? Shake them around and see what word you come up with. You'd be very quick, ladies and gentlemen. Time is really ticking away against us. So 228-5562 or 228-5563. What word is this? When you put those letters in what we think is proper order, what word is this? Nepsaro. I'm juggling already. Listen, come, there we go. What word is it? What word is it? Unscramble. 228-5562 or 228-5563. What word do you get? I know it looks really, really strange, even to me, and I have no clue as to what it is. So 228-5562 or 228-5563. Take those letters, move them around. Let's see what word you come up with. Let's see what it is that you can work out. Good morning to you. Hello.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Oh, I am beautiful.
Oh, really? You have on your lipstick?
No, I don't need that. I'm a natural woman.
I hear you. Good girl. What parish are you watching us from?
St. Michael, the best parish in Barbados.
Listen, don't start an argument. Don't do that. You dwell in a riot, as the old people would say.
No, sorry, I don't.
St. Lucy's is the best parish.
I agree. After St. Michael.
What word is this?
This is Pearson.
I beg your pardon?
Pearson.
That is my name. Yes, go ahead. What is it? What word is this?
That is the word.
Let me see. P-E-A-R. No, letter's missing.
Oh, you moved it.
I moved it.
Have a good day.
Absolutely right. How did you spot that so quickly?
Because I love you, Pearson, and anything referring to you, I would pick it up quickly.
Bless your heart. Oh, really? What's my birth date?
Your birthday is sometime this year, but really, right now I can't remember.
Everybody's birthday is sometime this year. I thought you knew everything about me. The word is Pearson, but thank you so much. Sorry?
Sorry. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Thank you very much. Got caught her own tricks. Well done indeed. But yep, that's the word Pearson indeed. Thank you so much for playing with us. You know, tomorrow we'll do it again. Indeed, you better believe it. It's now 14 after 7 o'clock. Let's turn our attention now to some workshops being hosted by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Initiative. And certainly joining us this morning as they take a look at the roadmap to net zero climate action is Raj Paul, and with him is Anita Nightingale, the director of Europe BTMI. Good morning, both of you.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So Anita, I'll start with you. Explain to us the rationale behind holding these workshops coming up, looking at roadmap to net zero climate action.
All right. Well, it's really and truly to do with climate change and finding a way in which we can lower emissions across businesses in Barbados, especially tourism businesses. So the first thing we're going to do is we are working with Sustainability Travel International, and they're the ones that are going to be with us co-hosting these workshops. So the first one is going to be next Tuesday and the second one next Wednesday. And what participants will learn is how to measure their emissions and how to and strategies in lowering them.
Right. Oftentimes when we hear this whole question about these carbon dioxide emissions, we think of large industrial businesses. I don't run a factory. I don't have anything that creates that kind of atmospheric problem. So why am I to pay attention? What do you say?
Because it starts with an individual. And this is actually one of the reasons why I've partnered with Raj Paul. So once people understand that every little action counts, this is one of the reasons why the workshop is so important. We already have seen our beaches being eroded. We notice that we've got a water shortage. All of this is not just to do with the outside world, it's to do with us as well. And so these are things that you will learn in the workshop. One of the reasons why we have partnered with Raj Paul is that he himself has a sense, he himself is very sensitive and is aware of the environment.
Raj, we know, is one of the best designers on the island indeed. And so, you know, for years I've been wearing Raj Paul. So Raj, let's talk a little bit about, because they've fingered you. They've said, you know, Raj is really the one we have to partner with. It must feel tremendous to you to know that one, your work, your contribution, your messages are resonating in the way that they do. Let's talk about that first, and then why you started that campaign, and then what is that you would want the workshop to be able to achieve.
Sure. You're quite right, Pearson. I'm so pleased that the work has, you know, gained the momentum that it has, and it speaks for itself in such a way that it get the attention of BTMI Europe, you know what I mean, for them to reach out, for Nita to reach out. And first of all, you know, link with me just from the point of view of, you know, we should do something to bridge the gap between visitors coming to Barbados or repping Barbados and the creatives, you know what I'm saying? So just that thinking alone to me is just awesome. You reach out to me specifically, I'm super happy because there's so much vibes that I've been feeling while I'm down there on the beach, while I'm on the ocean, while I'm seeing things like trash all over the place and things that, and then the efforts that I see doubling up to change this. I feel like being part of this wave of making a change in a positive way is incredible, and I'm super happy to be part of it.
Oftentimes we don't see the little things we do and how those little things impact the bigger picture. And so, but you have found a way, Raj, to be so creative in how you can get into our little, every sinew of our consciousness to get us to think a little bit differently. Is that part of what your mission is in this whole exercise?
Yeah, Pearson, I'm here thinking to myself, I need to hire you for my PR, bro. That's what I'm thinking.
It comes at a cost.
He knows exactly what I'm dealing with. No, man, you know, listen, fam, I don't know who loves the beach as much as me, bro. I thought like one day I'd be a lifeguard. That's how much I want to be on the beach every single day. Yes. And so when I see my beach not looking good, B, and I think to myself, you know, what's the least that I could do as an individual, as a civilian, to contribute to the positive, you know, caretaker of the beach? I don't have to pick up a whole lot of things necessarily, but what I certainly could do is not add to it. What I certainly could do is take my trash home. What I certainly could do is not leave it on the beach. I could use the bins. You know what I'm saying? Like small things. I keep thinking about what's the least, not what's the most, what's the least that I can do that is achievable for me to do that will contribute to the overall well-being of the environment of Barbados. And part of that really is the mindset that I can do something. I feel like there's a strong mindset that I'm always kind of like, that's lurking there, that I'm thinking about how to combat that, how to twist that, how to shape that. And that's that mindset of, I don't really care. Yeah. I could say that in other words. It's not made for TV, right? But I don't really care. And I want to shift that, fam, because this is home. We got one home. What you talking about? You know, we want to do everything that we can to make this here a home that we really enjoy for ourselves, and that we enjoy, and that we leave a beautiful place for our youth coming up. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. So you see the design. The design is really I Heart BIM. You know, I call it IHB, I Heart BIM. And it's a whole vibe about obviously loving, respecting, caring, you know what I'm saying, being conscientious about home, you know, and repping BIM to the fullest. I like to say 246, 24/7. You know, so this is what we could do. Join in with this kind of force to support it visually, support it from a stylistic, aesthetic, you know what I'm saying, but things that all shape together or that bind together to make a forward happen.
Absolutely. So, Anita, this is what it's about. We're asking all sectors, really. When you stop to think about it, two workshops just aren't enough, but nevertheless, it's a start. And so we're encouraging as many elements of our sector to register to be a part of these workshops coming up. So who are you targeting specifically so that they understand that, you know, sometimes when you hear your name call is when you know it's you. If you don't hear your name called, you figure it must be someone else. So let's call some names of who we're targeting, and let's tell them how they can be a part of it.
All right, so the workshops are next Tuesday and Wednesday. On Tuesday, it's accommodation providers, so whether hotels, Airbnbs, villas, you're welcome, please come. Attractions and restaurants. And those are on Tuesdays. And again, just to remind you, what we want to do is we want to teach you how to measure your emissions. You're going to be learning emission reduction strategies and also climate-friendly things to do with our visitors and Barbadians. On Wednesday, it will be water sports operators, transportation providers, and entrepreneurs. So those are the 2 days that we have. They're going to be at the LESC. To register, because you have to register ahead of time, please do email mindfultravel@visitbarbados.com.
Visitbarbados.com. Mindful travel at travelbarbados.com. I know you're encouraging. I got it. I know you're encouraging all participants to rep the shirt. Really own the process by yourself showing your support in your shirt. And so this is where perhaps you can tell us how to access the shirt. How do we get it? How can I be comfortable in my skin knowing that I'm wearing my shirt saying I want to be a part of the change?
So when you're registering, you can also do that. And of course, Raj, because there are Raj's shirts at his IG. So the I Love BIM, which is what we're both wearing right now. I'm wearing it underneath my jacket and he's wearing his. It really and truly would be an awesome way of just showing that we are, you know, strict guardians of our heritage.
Yes.
During heritage.
Indeed. Every little action speaks volumes. And so every action requires us to take responsibility. One of the responsible ways that we can take the action for change, get our shirt, register for next week's seminars, workshops, Tuesday and Wednesday, and go to the website, go to the email address is...
You can email mindfultravel@visitbarbados.org.
Or contact Raj to get a shirt as well. Raj, how can we contact you?
Absolutely. I'm pretty easy to find. My WhatsApp is
out there strong. 267-8608. You can hit me up direct and be like, yo, fam, I need to get one of those pieces. How to do that? I'm up in Spicetown, loving Spicetown, loving the North. It's where my family's from. And you could come up to the studio and you could grab one. Right now, there's a special on for the 2 weeks in June because this is Heritage Month and this is the month for the workshop. So for the next 2 months, you get 2 pieces for the price of 1. And after that, when we switch into July, we're going to be in, we're going to be in Bridgetown, Duty Free. We're going to be in Duty Free upstairs near the food court. It is, Anita. That's where we're going to be. It's going to be a setup. We're getting ready for that now, and it's going to be, I think it's going to be pretty awesome. I want everybody to pass through, even if you just want to show. But you certainly could cop something there, and it'll be at the regular price until stocks last. And it's a limited edition piece, so you need a cop while you can.
Both of you, Raj Paul from the Ministry of Style Barbados and Anita Nightingale, the Director of the Europe Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. Best of luck with these two workshops next week, and we hope that every sector who you've called turns up in good numbers, turns up in their shirt, lends support for us to make the climate change to net zero. Thank you very much for joining us. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you, bro.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados will take a break here. We're coming back in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Time for us to talk HR, one of our favorite subjects, with Hermab. Joining us this morning is the president herself, Joan Underwood, my very good friend. With her is Julie Turney, who is a member of HRMAB Hermab. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning. Good morning.
Joan, Happy New Year here. I feel as if I haven't seen you in so long.
You're so powerful.
It's the truth. I just feel that way, but good to see you indeed. Great work Hermab is doing, and I'm so glad we can have this opportunity here on Morning Barbados to expose a number of things that as people and practitioners of HR, we all need to be able to get right. Part of which is the whole question of employee engagement and psychological safety. And then when I was thinking about this, I kept thinking, you know, at work we talk a lot about health and safety. We think of the physical plant, but sometimes we forget the psychological aspect within that plant too, the people. And let's talk about that, how it relates to employee engagement. Explain for us, therefore, psychological safety.
Well, you know, at Hermab, we're all about the people. And in terms of what we mean when we say psychological safety, it's that belief, that conviction that it's okay for you to ask questions, for you to admit when you don't know something, that it's not going to come back to bite you, that you don't have to always be on the defensive, so you feel safe. And the model of psychological safety that I particularly appreciate identifies 4 stages of psychological safety. The first one is inclusion safety. So I feel as if I'm a part of this organization, a part of this team. It's not that I'm on the outside looking in. So that's the first level, the most fundamental level. The next level is learner safety. I feel safe to learn on the job. So I don't have to know everything when I walk through the door. It's okay for me to learn on the job. There'll be no penalty. And if it's safe for me to learn on the job, that means that I may make a mistake and I don't have to hide it. I don't have to be afraid that people are going to judge me because I didn't know something. I didn't know the correct way to do something. So inclusion, learning. The next level of safety is contributor safety, that I can make a contribution to the team that will be valued. So my input matters. I safely understand and believe that. And the fourth level, which is the highest level and which you may not all necessarily get to, is challenger safety. Because if you feel included, if you've learned on the job, if you've been contributing, and you see something that you don't think is going right, you feel safe enough to challenge it without fear of getting your head cut off, that people think, who are you to challenge, who are you to ask? This is how we do it. So those are the 4 levels of psychological safety that I have found very helpful in mastering that.
You know, someone is watching and saying, Joel, you sleeping, girl, but that doesn't happen at my workplace. And that's, for a lot of people, their reality. They feel as though they're walking into a space every day where they are dumbed down, for want of a better expression at the moment. And so that engagement that employers are seeking, it just doesn't happen in the same way that you've just described it. So, Julie, help me understand then, what are some of the challenges here? You know, why is the environment so toxic that my whole psychological makeup is challenged in the way that it is?
So when we think about workplace toxicity, it's all surrounded around how we're developing our cultures ultimately. And a lot of times when we are not on the same page, whether it's as leadership, as HR, as employees, as managers, when we're not all on the same page when it comes to that conversation around psychological safety, then it means that we're going to have these bumps in the road. We're going to start creating these environments where some managers do one thing, other managers do other things. So as you rightly mentioned, a lot of people will say, I don't have any psychological safety in my workplace. Then some organizations may have some managers that account for it, allow for it, and then other people on the outside looking in go, well, why isn't my manager like that? But it all comes down to making sure that we're all on the same page when it comes to communicating, that we're trying to create a culture where we as a community, not a family, a community, want to promote psychological safety in the workplace.
So that starts head down. It starts up there. Yeah. You set the policy, and everyone should hopefully filter in to determine that policy. But how do I measure it? How do I measure this level of engagement? Because one manager is doing it, the other one is doing it, and somehow we're all contributing to the whole anyway. So how do we measure this so that we are effectively creating the right environment?
So that comes down to there are different mechanisms that we can use. We could use surveys, which could be done on a monthly basis, a quarterly basis, an annual basis, to find out how people are feeling about the workplace, how they're feeling about their managers, how they're feeling about the work that they do. We can also use proxies. So while we have surveys, proxies are related to information and data that we're already gathering that is engagement adjacent. So when we think about our absence numbers, when we think about our sickness numbers, when we think about our performance numbers, we can look at those because they're tied to engagement. And then lastly, we can also use interviews. So when you think about creating stay interviews, I know a lot of times in HR, we focus on exit interviews, but we are encouraged to also focus on stay interviews, which is finding out from people before they leave, long before they leave, what are the things that we're doing well that we can continue to do? What are the things we're not doing well that we should stop doing? And what are the things that we aren't doing that we really should start to do? And so when we do this, then we're creating space for people to feel psychologically safe, to share that information, to then help us to improve the engagement experience in the workplace.
This, Joan, requires a lot of honesty and openness and vulnerability, but at the same time in a very safe way, that we can all work together. But who drives it? Who at the end of the day drives it? And I ask that for a reason, because I remember in my other iteration while working in banking, we had made a decision there that we're going to shift the way we do customer service, but it required that everyone, top down, had to go through the training process. Training was not done by managers. Training was done by simple people. I was one of them. We were the trainers of this process. And every manager who came had to be, there was a shift in roles. So you understood that as the trainer, training you, Mr. Manager, that you had to listen and comply. So who drives the process, though, at the end of the day? Who manages it?
Great question. And you've put your finger on it exactly. Because here's the thing, you mentioned the word vulnerability, to be vulnerable. And as Julie mentioned, this is all about community. With psychological safety, you're not safe just based on your relationship with one person. It's like the water that fish swim in. It has to be safe all around for psychological safety to genuinely exist. So who's responsible for the culture? Yes, it has to be driven from the top down. So the leadership within the organization has to send a very clear and unambiguous signal that this is how we do things here. And Julie mentioned that there's some managers who show up in a way that create this type of environment where people are safe. But if it's not permeating throughout the organization, then you don't genuinely have safety, because it needs to affect everyone. And the way we can do that is by holding people accountable for either adhering to the principles of psychological safety or not. Now, in terms of engagement, right, and you don't get the genuine engagement, the type of discretionary effort that you're looking for if people don't feel safe. What the published research has shown is that one of the principal drivers of engagement and psychological safety is the type of relationships that you have in the organization. With whom do you interact most often? You're interacting with your direct supervisor or line manager more so than the people who are at the top of the organization. So while it starts at the top of the organization in terms of setting the culture, this is how we do things here, it also needs to filter through supervisors, through line managers, through middle managers, so that the employees see, look, this is not an anomaly. This is not just based on who this particular person is, but rather it's the way that we are within the organization.
You know, we never have enough time, Joan, cheese or bread. We never seem to have enough time. But I'm sure that for me, I could feel it almost that there are people who are operating business today who are thinking, I am embarrassed to raise my hand to say that sounds like my environment where I do need the help. And they do need the help. There are some HR managers who are thinking, my gosh, that sounds interesting, but I don't know how to. How can they now, and how does HERMAB lend support in situations like these?
Oh, we're happy to lend support. And we encourage you to follow us on social media. So you can check us out on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram as well. You can also reach out to us, check our website, you can get in touch with us. And if you're an HR practitioner and you want to lead this process within your organization, if you're not a member of HERMAB yet, we invite you to join us. Our general monthly meeting is coming up on this Monday. So reach out to us. You can reach out to me, to Julie, any member, or contact us at the Secretariat, and we'll send you the link because we're still meeting virtually. So we're meeting Monday evening at 6 p.m. So do join us, and we can help you not just with engagement and psychological safety, but with all your HR needs.
Well put. Thank you so much, ladies. Again, I look forward to next week's engagement with you. We're talking HR with HERMAB. Our good friend Joan Underwood, the president of HERMAB. With her is Julie Turney, a member. We encourage you. I mean, the membership comes with benefits, folks. So if you're not yet a member of HERMAB, join today. Find them on social, find them online, and they'll be happy to be able to engage with you, because the next meeting is on Monday and you should not miss it. Thank you so much, and all the best going forward. Morning Barbados takes a break. We're coming back with more in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Gentlemen, listen up. This is time to spend some time with our urologist, Dr. Paul Rouse. We're talking today about your PSA checks because it could save your life. Dr. Rouse, good morning to you.
Good morning, Barbados. Thanks for having me again.
Good to see you again. I could not underscore it enough, the need for us men to pay attention to our prostate care. So let's start. What is the PSA? Let's start from there.
Thanks for that. So recently in clinic again, I've been seeing, unfortunately, these little sad stories where men have been, strong family histories, quite frankly, of prostate cancer, have been keeping an eye on their PSA. They've watched it gradually rise and rise, and quite frankly, haven't done anything. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic has added some problems there as well because, not being able to visit your GP directly, a lot of patients haven't been seen. So that's why I want to talk about PSA again and bring it back into the spotlight. So PSA stands for your prostate-specific antigen. This is a blood test that we do to help us screen men for prostate diseases, especially for prostate cancer, but it's also helpful for managing other benign conditions of the prostate, such as the benign prostatic hyperplasia or the age-related enlargement that most of us will get as we get older. This first slide is just to remind us where the prostate gland sits. It's a walnut-shaped organ that sits at the base of the bladder around the initial part of the water passage. And the importance of the prostate, it helps to produce semen and helps us to able to father kids. But like any other organ, as we get older, you can have problems arising from the prostate, namely the age-related enlargement, the benign prostatic hyperplasia or BPH, that's our term for it. You can also have inflammation of your prostate gland, just like you can have infections of your bladder or what we call cystitis. We can also have infections of the prostate, so that's usually acute prostatitis. There's also another condition called chronic prostatitis. To be honest, we're not 100% sure why some men get it, why other men don't, but it's an entirely benign condition. And the other more common problem with the prostate is prostate cancer. Next slide, please. So the reason why we, like any other cancer in the body, really, prostate cancer, once it gets outside the prostate gland, can be incurable, and we know that is a fairly common disease. If you look at the American figures, 1 in 8 men in America, the UK, I think it's about 1 in 10 men, are diagnosed with prostate cancer throughout their lifetime. But once it is managed appropriately, the death from prostate cancer is less than 1 in 25. A lot of men will live with prostate cancer, and unfortunately not die from prostate cancer, provided you manage it properly. But unfortunately, I do see a lot of the times where men have been screened, not followed through with that screening, and not taken the advice of their doctors in terms of managing their prostate cancer. I would like to take this opportunity as well to mention the familiar herbal products that a lot of patients take. These are good. I do encourage them. The more common one would be things like saw palmetto, things like that, that are for managing benign conditions of the prostate. I have no qualms in prescribing that. I encourage men to have that once they have BPH or if they have chronic prostatitis. But these herbal remedies are not good for managing prostate cancer. You need much more aggressive treatments when you have prostate cancer. And the problem is that when most men will develop BPH, as it's an age-related condition. But within that same enlarged gland or that same gland that's causing lower urinary tract symptoms, you can have a focus of cancer. So it's really important that you initially see your GP, have that initial check, which is usually you're going to be a blood test, your PSA, along with your digital rectal exam. If it's all benign and BPH or chronic prostatitis is fine, these herbal remedies are great. But if it is cancer, you really need to have much more aggressive treatment. That's where you might need to come to see myself as a urologist and or my oncology colleagues to talk about radiotherapy. But the PSA is although it's not the best tool in the world, it's the tool that we have right now. Notice it stands for prostate-specific antigen. It doesn't stand for prostate cancer-specific antigen, although there's that out there as well. So there are some limitations to the test. If we go on to the next slide, please. There are some different modalities of the PSA. So this is a simple blood test. You have it done, the laboratory reports back. If it's elevated, it means that you are at risk for prostate cancer. It doesn't mean that you have prostate cancer. It just means that you're at risk for prostate cancer. I like to, really glad you put that slide up. That shows you that as you get older, you take into account that as your gland gets bigger, then you produce more PSA. So what we call the age-specific PSA levels or the age-related PSA levels. As you can see there, for a young man, less than 50, a PSA above 2.5 is considered abnormal, whereas for an older man or above 70, PSA greater than 6.5 is considered abnormal. I don't think we are all using these age-related cards, but just to get an idea. So this is why it's important after having that initial assessment by your GP, then if appropriate, then refer over to your urologist. And then that's where my job will come in to help assess your risk of prostate cancer and whether you need to go on to have more detailed testing, namely a biopsy. Well, in our setting now, that's readily available, a multiparametric MRI of your prostate as well as a biopsy for further evaluation. Because PSA is not prostate cancer specific, we use a few parameters to help identify that. If you have the next slide, please, where we look at different things such as your PSA density, where we look at the ratio of your PSA to your prostate volume. So in clinic, I do a transrectal ultrasound of your prostate right away, get your prostate volume, calculate your PSA density. That helps me to assess your risk of prostate cancer. If your PSA density is greater than 0.15, it just means you're at higher risk. Again, I like to reiterate, it doesn't mean you have prostate cancer. It just means you're at higher risk. And then I would then recommend for you to go and have a MRI and biopsy of your prostate. There's also the PSA velocity as well that can be helpful. And there are several different other factors, such as your free to total PSA. A lot of laboratories here report that. That's very helpful for men with a PSA between 4 to 10 to, again, help further assess your risk of prostate cancer. So these are the sort of things that will be discussed with your urologist. And we go through that journey, that process with you in clinic. And then we can make a informed decision about how best you want to move forward, whether you want to monitor initially, which is quite reasonable in some cases, or whether we need to go on to have an MRI and biopsy of your prostate. So PSA is the initial assessment along with your digital rectal exam. It's important to have that. A lot of men still refrain from having having a digital rectal exam. The sort of discussion we can have on live TV first thing in the morning, but in another form elsewhere, I will help to produce some videos about the digital rectal exam so that men can get over that fear of the examination. Yes, it is invasive to a certain extent because you're passing a finger via the anus to examine the prostate, but it is really not a painful investigation. It is uncomfortable. You get the sensation that you want to pass through, and it certainly does not change your sex in any way. That is one of the big misnomers about this whole examination. But it is something that can actually potentially save your life because not all prostate cancers produce PSA. So that's why we still need to do the digital rectal exam as well. Because if there's any palpable nodules or palpable lumps, yes, that's a clear indication for to be looking to make sure it is not cancerous. Again, a lot of the cases it isn't. Again, it could just be a nodule of BPH or a focus of prostatitis, nothing to be worried about. But obviously, if it's a focus of cancer, we like to catch it early because by and large, once you catch prostate cancer early, it's very curable with either surgery or radiotherapy. So a lot of men have long lives living, hopefully being cured after surgery or radiotherapy or living with prostate cancer rather than dying from prostate cancer.
I like that term, living with rather than dying from. If one has, within a particular age bracket, slightly elevated levels of PSA, what's the treatment level? What's the management of that like?
Right, so once your PSA is slightly elevated, we look at all your risk factors. We look at your age, we look at your family history, and as I said, all those other parameters to help assess your risk of prostate cancer. If we deem that you are high risk for prostate cancer, we would really recommend, I would recommend an MRI, a multiparametric MRI, and biopsy of the prostate for further evaluation. However, if it's just marginally elevated, there is quite frankly room just to monitor things initially and what we call PSA monitoring, and which is quite safe. And if then we see that your PSA starts to rise dramatically and or your rectal exam changes, or if we do serial MRIs and we see changes on your MRI, then that can prompt a biopsy. But because these are very slightly technical, that's where it's best dealt with by your urologist. So it doesn't mean that all the time that you're going to go on to have a biopsy, you can have that initial discussion with your urologist. But if you do have a biopsy, I like to reassure men that it is uncomfortable, but it's not painful. We use local anesthetic to numb the prostate so that hopefully you won't feel the little biopsy needles that we have to take from the prostate. And the vast majority of men tolerate this very well. I've been back for, say, the last 2+ years. I probably do about 50, 60 biopsies a year. I've had only one man so far who could not tolerate the procedure in the office and opted to have it under slight sedation. Right. So you can see vast majority of men actually afterwards say, oh, that's it, because they're really worried it's a lot more painful, a lot more invasive. And the beauty of it is you're wide awake. So if there's any discomfort or anything, I will seek to make it better for you. You can always give more local anesthetic, and it's not meant to be barbaric in any way. And as I said, it can save your life, and that's the most important thing.
Amen. That's the best way to end. It can save your life. So get to know your PSA levels. And of course, if they're slightly elevated, don't worry. You can work this out. We can work this out. More people live with than die from. That's a paradigm that I like to hear. I'd like to hear that, live with rather than die from. Dr. Paul Rouse, as always, thank you so very much for coming, joining with us and sharing with us a lot of things that we need to pay very close attention to, particularly men who oftentimes are challenged to take the step to take care of themselves. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, Barbados.
Indeed, good morning indeed. Morning Barbados continues in just a moment.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
So let's look at the Writers' Clinic that's coming up by the NCF. Joining us to talk about that and how we can engage with it is the Cultural Officer for Literary Arts, Cara Price. Good morning to you, Cara.
Good morning, and good morning to Barbados.
Good to see you yet again. There's another workshop coming up because you're continuing your Writers' Clinic, encouraging people to put pen to paper, to write, to create, to share their thoughts and their creative skills. So let's talk about this upcoming workshop. When is it? Where is it? How we can be a part of it?
Okay, great. The workshop is coming up on Saturday, July 9th. It's going to be delivered via Zoom. It starts at 11 a.m. and it finishes at 1 p.m. And the topic for this particular session is Poetry for Beginners. It's going to be presented by Linda Dean, and most people in the writing community are familiar with her. She is well loved, and she has been practicing in the arts for many, many years. So, and I forgot the most important thing, which is that it's free. It's free, and it's open to writers at all levels. So if you have a desire to write poetry, and maybe you're just looking to tighten up your skills, this is a perfect opportunity for you to come out, learn some skills and some tactics that you can apply to your work, and it's in a safe environment among a community of writers.
And I'm glad to hear that, because often we know music, so we know music has notes that flow in a particular way. But poetry also has notes that flow in a particular way. Not all poems have to necessarily rhyme. And so those are some of the things that Linda Dean will be sharing with us, I suppose, in this upcoming workshop. The different styles of poetry, the different ways to structure our verses.
Absolutely. So if you are new to poetry, you'll not be familiar with maybe all of the literary techniques, the different styles of writing, that, as you said just now, that you have poems that rhyme, some that don't, the different tones that you can use. And she's going to be there to break it down for you. And in addition to that, she's indicated that she's going to highlight some of the mistakes that novice writers make, some of the pitfalls that you want to avoid. And then she's actually going to be doing some exercises. So there's going to be interaction where you can actually have the opportunity to have your work critiqued in a safe environment and get some feedback.
So in other words, as a novice, you've written something and you want to hear an expert give some opinion to it, you can bring it to the workshop as well as, hey, Linda, look over this and tell me what you think. Have I developed the theme enough in such a way that it flows beautifully? And if you're like me, sometimes you get as far as verse 1 and you stop because somehow the mind has just closed up. You just put everything into that one verse, and sometimes you just need to expand it just a little bit. So if you're passionate about poetry and you need to know more about how you can structure it in a really nice way, Linda Dean, you're a novice to it, Linda Dean on this workshop can really help. Registration, let's talk about that.
Great. Okay. So you can reach me via email at kara-price@ncf.bb, and that is KARRA-PRICE@ncf.bb. You can also reach me via phone at 417-6625. So once you send me your email or you reach out to me via phone, you will be added to our database. And on the early of the morning, 12 a.m. of the actual workshop, you will receive a Zoom invitation with all of the instructions. And the good thing about signing up for Writers Clinic is that every time we have a new workshop, once you've signed up once, you automatically get an invitation for all of the upcoming workshops or presentations. And then you just have to opt in or opt out.
Right. Oh, nice. So Writers Clinic coming up on the 9th of July, online on Zoom from 11 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon, just a couple hours, but a couple hours of intense, great practical work. What is poetry? That will be answered. What are the basic elements of poetry as well, poetry writing, and what are some of the mistakes that novices make? All of those will be shared with you by Linda Dean, quite a literary genius here on the island. She will share with you online on Zoom, but you need to register by sending an email to Kara Price. She's right there on your screen. KARRA-Price@ncf.bb. And she gets your registration. You can call her too, if you care to, on 417-6625, 417-6625, and she will guide you through the process. But get in there and get writing, get crafting indeed. It's really going to be fantastic. But best of all, as Kara tells you, it's free, absolutely free, as the National Cultural Foundation continues to develop that groundswell of writers and poets and creatives on the island, as they've been doing over the years and the decades indeed, and continue to do so very, very well indeed. Kara Price, thank you so much for joining us this morning to again expose us to these workshops that are going on at the National Cultural Foundation. We just encourage everyone now to drop you that email fast, Kara-Price@ncf.bb, or to give her a call on 417-6625 and register for the July 9th Writers Workshop on poetry. If you're a novice at poetry, you need to be there. If you're budding at poetry, you also need to be there, because Linda Dean will be there. Bring your works. She can give you some critique as well and help you improve your style and technique. Thank you very much, Kara. All the best.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great. Just want to remind you of a few things, ladies and gentlemen. This evening, right here on TV8, Your Health, Your Action at 8:30 this evening, live on TV8 tonight. They're looking at complications of diabetes with a special focus on impotence and amputations. So a special look at the complications of diabetes with a special focus on impotence and amputations. Now don't forget, send your questions in advance on WhatsApp. You can send it right away, all it now, 228-5562. Send your questions in. Cassandra and David will be there this evening to share with you live on TV8 and our social medias as well. There was something else you guys were saying to me I didn't quite get. And then Heritage Month, don't forget today, there's a video presentation at St. James Parish Church, and also the Barbados Museum Historical Society's lecture series panel discussion continues. Friends of All, Satellites of None, beginning at 3 is on Zoom. We'll post this on our social so you can see the Zoom ID and password. Tomorrow, Thursday, the youth webinar, Heritage and Sustainable Development, on live on Facebook, beginning at 6 in the evening. So much else happening as part of Heritage Month as well. Just go to Mornin Barbados on Facebook and see for yourself all of this. So I'm pausing because they're talking to me all at the same time. So tomorrow, don't forget, I'm going to have some fun with you as I share with you another word for you to unscramble. Tomorrow is what day? Thursday. So we'll have with you some exceptional young people as well. So we can have some fun tomorrow, aren't we? Great reason for you to join me then. Thanks to my producer, Alicia Grant, the man whose voice is in my ear all the time. Our technical director, Roel Ford. At sound is Christopher Blenman, and at Master Control, my friend, Tamisha Green. To all of you, we say thank you. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.